This video is about senses versus consensus and the martial arts implications of the story of Osiris. So a key point that must be noted is to be in the spirit by default is related to the senses. Someone has to sense it in you, or you have to sense it in yourself. To sense God. Period. No amount of knowledge of details can take away from this. Religion, by default, is to rejoin, reconnect. It is about that connection, to make that connection. And this is more accurately displayed by sparring than anything else. Okay. Knowledge and or misdirection of argument, forcing the opponent to change his thought process to address these new side arguments. For example, I could be in the spirit and say, this is how it is, and Jesus does not have wings, and Serapis is based on a bull. And then you say, well, actually, in this depiction over here, we do see Jesus with wings. And Serapis can be seen as this deity that was flying to heaven and so on, right? These are side details that miss the point. They are the exceptions that don't make the rule, and they don't disprove the point. But the expert, quote unquote, in the details and the specifics can make these arguments. And this is something we see commonly in society. Okay. The pagan ritual expertise giving the wolf in sheep's clothes the reason and knowledge, okay, to have the upper hand, the Luciferian middle ground as opposed to the moral high ground over those who are kept in the dark, right? They will not confuse those who are of God. Those who have ears, they hear. Those who have eyes, they see. Those who have heart, they act. And that is the seat of intelligence. That is the determinant of intelligence. Your body affects your ability to think, right? If I cut your arm, you can be focused on your arm and not a math problem, for example. Does that mean that the arm is the seat of intelligence? It is the determinant. The determinant is the heart. If you don't have the heart to follow through in a world where there's secret societies and all kinds of dangers and adversities, then you're not going to do the work of God. And somebody with a very simple mind can do the work of God. Okay, so as long as you're alive and able to do work in one spirit or the other, as opposed to being brain dead, the heart is the seat of intelligence, not the brain. So man is a sinner on probation. I was told probo means to prove, even if it doesn't, it proves my point. Okay. So prove yourself by your works that you are in the spirit. And this goes back to sparring, spirit, spart. Science is unnatural, and religion is to reconnect, not self-direct. To rejoin, not have a bunch of secret societies behind the scenes manipulate everyone, including the wisest and the best, and try to direct everyone in the wrong direction. Another key point, the historical context from the academic angle, right? Let's put Christianity in its historical context, right? The fallen angel, fallen on, right? On Heliopolis, fallen on El, right? The sons of God that have fallen. The children of, the man who have fallen have grace. Okay, the fallen angle perspective, right? The academic perspective, okay? Versus the martial arts religious context. So you can study martial arts as a scientist all you want, but you won't truly sense these things. You won't feel the same way as the person who is in the battle or in the match. You won't feel the harmony come through to you. Even if you have some kind of way to interpret the mind's thoughts and feelings, it's not the same as being right there. Okay, so the first person, right? Number one, which also goes back to the divine order, right? To martial, to order. Number one, to coordinate the troops, to coordinate your body, to coordinate mind, body, and soul, to coordinate weapons and sword and shield and so on, and agility and everything together. All right, transferable skills, universal skills, communicable skills, convertible skills, and translatable skills. A lot of things aren't lost in translation. So to avoid that, you want to have the person who speaks the language. And God's language is martial arts. He is the creator. He is all powerful, all knowing, and all good. So to be the martial artist who is the most spiritually powerful and can outmaneuver the other guys in sparring and conquer their spirit, right? to be all powerful, all knowing, and all good, to know spiritually how to outmaneuver them and beat them, and to be in the spirit of righteous indignation. And we'll get to that in a second. So light contact sparring expertise versus pagan ritual and scriptural expertise. The scripture is referring to the idea. The idea in its pure form is God, not this translation or that translation or this way of saying it, right? I can say something to you with a hand gesture. Does it have to be written down? You know, if I say, come here, right? I can say, come here. You know, I can show you that I'm in the spirit. Can I write you a letter and say, by the way, I am in the spirit? You can tell by how the letter is written. No. Therefore, the letter is not the word. It is the spirit in the man, is the living word, the living spirit, the living communication, communicatable skills. Okay, so the idea of the argument versus the side points must be considered as well. Remember, consensus, right? A bunch of fools once said Jesus was wrong together. Can they logically say, well, we all see it this way and you see it that way? Who's right? Yeah, they can say it, but they're wrong. That is the con arts, illusion, consensus versus a higher sense. And in a coercive power-based society, my goodness, consensus means little to nothing. Okay, and that's part of the problem with democracy instead of a theocracy, a true martial arts monarchy leading society, and not a consensus of coerced and scared people. So, not any match matters. You know, somebody who's a scientist, for example, who actually is more in the right than a martial artist who's in the yin-yang or dark side spirit, you know, just because he can't win a match against that evil person doesn't mean he's right. It's at the highest level. The greatest embodiment represents that person's beliefs, like David and Goliath. Okay. And this is also why it's over. After me, you don't have any fair representation of the light temple. Everyone has been reproducing in the wrong spirit for so long. It goes back to my snake and hawk argument. The snake can't say, you know what, I want to be the main hawk now. But you've bred for thousands of years in the snake spirit. Okay? So it has to be light temple challenge, you know, mind, body, soul connection, spirit connection, mind, body, soul, spirit. So it has to be a light temple challenge. And so it had to be my challenge and not, you know, the Olympics, right? This is a pagan, Greek, you know, Western kind of challenge. The Olympics, where do these things come from? Do they come from the church? No, that's laughable, laughable. What about mainstream, kumite? Wait, they're not even Christians. It's for karate alone. What about UFC fighting? No, this is not sparring. There is no valid challenge other than mine. And why didn't they have the insight to see it that way? Because they are not a valid, or even, or even have the qualifications to begin to be a representative of God. I have moved in the spirit. I come from the regenerations. Okay, so because of my background, it would not matter if I had trained martial arts at all, much less my form and my style, because there are no true light temple styles of martial arts. There's yin-yang, there's bloodbath, gladiator, you know, and so on. You know, street fighting and so on. Okay, so the style doesn't matter. The form doesn't matter. You know, as far as what techniques is he using, is he applying? The spirit that he's applying these techniques in is what really matters. And that means non-complicity with these other martial arts systems. Okay? So the natural versus the expert. This person's a natural at this. Why? Because that is the seed of God was planted in his family, and it grew every generation as they perfected and outdid the Father, which is Igbo culture. Let the Son outdo the Father. That's how you succeed. In what spirit? In Eri. Eri. Okay, just like Ethiopian Eri. They went around looking for the ideal warrior to breed, and Nigeria is where you found it, like being from the same tribe as Tyson. My dad's a brain surgeon. I'm from the same tribe as Tyson, Ali, you know, these types of people. Okay? So even if they were also from Angola, blah, 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 they're also from Igbo. Okay. So, let's see. The lamb argument, right? This also goes back to why Jesus in the Bible is a false interpretation of the Son of God, right? The Son of God in his glory, a lamb? A lamb? The sun in its intensity, the sun of righteousness, as the end of the scripture, I believe it was Samuel or something, the last book in the Bible toward the end, excuse me, the Old Testament toward the end, it says the sun, S-U-N, in its righteousness. So why would we use a lamb? What is intense about a lamb? Does a lamb come back in its glory on a horse? Why isn't Jesus depicted with wings? Well, the bull and the golden calf have no wings, and this goes back to Osiris, who is sitting down. He is not depicted as a falcon or a hawk, and a falcon is just a faster hawk when it's trained by God in its true form, and not by man. A peregrine falcon goes 200 miles per hour or something like that. The fastest animal on earth that's been recorded by science at this point. How did they know that back then? Did they need a scientist to tell them this is exactly how fast it is back then, or did they somehow sense it? So when we look at Osiris, who is the brother of Haru or Horus and Set, when they're the children of Ra, then later on Osiris is the father of Horus by Isis, who is often depicted as a non-black woman because she wasn't black. This was the sons of God, the martial arts temple of God, seeing the sons of the people that they were training with religion and otherwise, and using music, right, and wine, and merrymaking in different forms, certainly, to win them over. This is where you get Bes as the leopard, right? This is where you get Bacchus and Pan and Dionysus, and where they're connected. So the Nephilim, I've written down somewhere, no fail, I don't have it here, but it's something like no fail eye, or no full eye, and it's something to do with Pan backwards, Nephilim. See Nephilim. So it's I, it's like L-I Pan, where the M is the ark and the H is the fence, I believe. Nephilim, P-A-N backwards. So it's L-I Pan or something like that, right? So this is the light being covered. Osiris, the Lord of the Black, the yin-yang philosophy. Okay, the crook and flail. The crook, he's a crook. He's Lucifer, yin-yang. Okay, he says, I am more important for X, Y, and Z. And I'm not following the divine order, the divine order. And he has sex with Isis. And in one version, Nephthys tricks him into having sex, but this may very well be to confuse the issue and to increase his reverence. In the version I was taught originally was that he had sex with Nephthys for whatever reason. And that pissed off Set. So he was out of grace. He was half good, half evil. He had sex with a woman he shouldn't. He was so focused on, let's make friends with these people the wrong way. God's plan inevitably was for people to mix, to each his own spirit, mind over matter, spirit over flesh. Okay? To each his own spirit. So the great warrior spirit would have seen the beautiful non-black woman and he would have bred with them. And I'll end this by saying this. That is also why I am not pure black. It wasn't the black man this or the white man this or this and this. It wasn't the church's victory. It was God's victory. Haru, the El door, the door to God. Not the Canaanite god El, but El as translated as Lord. The Canaanite god El is a way for the people who control the wordplay to give their storm god, their Set-like god, credit. All right. So remember, key points. In the spirit, the senses, to sense God's spirit. Okay, historical context from academic angle, right? Fallen on El, the knowledge, the tree of knowledge versus the tree of life. Fallen angel perspective versus martial arts religious context. Thank you.